Hi there everyone, it's Arcus here, and in this video we'll be discussing whether or not there could potentially be a Mamma Mia 3. I mean, after the major success of Mamma Mia Here We Go Again, it would definitely not surprise me if they decided to make a third one. However, if they decided to do it, they need to be very careful to not to make it too similar to the first ones. They need to come up with some new content other than, that there's gonna be some sort of a party, which has been one of the big features in Mamma Mia and in Mamma Mia Here We Go Again. Because in the first one it was all about Sophie's wedding, so she invited a bunch of people, and in the sequel, Here We Go Again, it's about how Sophie has restored the hotel, so she's inviting a bunch of people for the opening. So they need to come up with a new concept regarding that. And I also believe a really smart move for them would be to do more flashbacks, as they did in Mamma Mia Here We Go Again. Because if they wanted to do flashbacks, I believe that the main plot in the third movie could be about Ruby and Fernando. The grandmother of Sophie, and the mother of Donna and Fernando, which we were introduced to in the second one. And I believe, in my own head, I connected that perhaps Fernando is Donna's dad, Sophie's grandfather, because they were talking a lot about how they met in South America, and it was all these years ago, and Donna never knew who her dad was, but I secretly believe that Ruby did, which was portrayed by Cher, of course, so that would be just another great example and reason to get her to be in the movie again. And I believe they could have the story focus on how Ruby and Fernando met in their, in South America, and have their backstory, and they could reveal in the movie that he is Sophie's grandfather. Because that's what I think, that's what they try to explain a bit throughout the second movie, and it was sort of hinted in ways, but you have to make your own connection. So I definitely think they could explore that further. So they could set it a couple years after Mamma Mia Here We Go Again, and they could have Sophie's daughter or son. I don't recall if they said which one it was in the movie, but either way they could have the child be around 5 or 6 years old, because then the other casts, they wouldn't be too old, so they wouldn't be dead, so they could still be there. And they could have the child be reminding, Ruby of the years that Donna were younger. So perhaps she would, get to talk about it some more, or they could find something that suggests that Fernando is, the grandfather and so forth. So they would have all these sort of flashbacks, and they could even have flashbacks of younger Donna, and I'm talking about when was around 15 or 16 years old, and they could have a talk to Ruby about getting to know who her father really was and so forth. And then we could perhaps even get back Lily James to play young Donna, because they could have some flashbacks from when she's living on the island. She's raising little Sophie. She could be a couple of years old, and she's wondering if she's gonna be able to do it all alone, perhaps wondering about if her dad was in the picture, what it would have been like when she was growing up and so forth. So she doesn't make, she does have the experience of what it feels like to grow up without a dad. So that could be in their best interests, I believe, to at least try to get Lily James back for a minimum of one scene, where she sings, because she's got a so beautiful voice, and she really made the sequel, Mamma Mia Here We Go Again, she elevated it into another step. So definitely think that would be a smart idea. So the plot that I came up with, as I said before, is that we could have a bunch of flashbacks to when Ruby and Fernando met and spent their time in South America. There are a lot of potentials there for gorgeous scenery, and the culture there is really different from Greece, where we have been before. And they could have it fit perfectly together with some of ABBA's songs, because, they gotta have more ABBA songs. They're really good, and they make it fit really well with the story. So a few of the songs that I came up with that could be great for the movie is Happy New Year, Put on Your White Sombrero, If It Wasn't for the Nights, Lovers, Live a Little Longer, and One Man and One Woman. These are some of the songs that I think could fit very well with the scenery of, having it in South America, and Ruby and Fernando falling in love with each other. They would sort of tie together the concept really nicely, and then of course they could do as they did in the other movies and have some songs return, but performed in a slightly new way, with different cast members singing them and new characters and so forth, perhaps even making one of the fastest songs into a ballad and so forth. There's a lot of potential here. So I also believe that, you know, the ending of the third movie, if it were to happen, could have set in present day and, you know, show them all being like a big happy family together. You know, Fernando has been announced to be the grandfather, so he's in the picture more, you know, he's living there as well. And he's not just working there, you know, they're all just kind of this big happy family. And you know, that's the ending we want. We want a happy ending with a lot of fun, great music and so forth. So these are some of the thoughts that I definitely think could be a potential if they were to deciding to do a third movie. And I mean, I looked up a bunch of online and I see a lot of interviews with, you know, Benny Anderson and all the other one from ABBA, because they were a bit hesitant towards making the second movie because they didn't want it to be like Grease 2, you know, where it was so much worse than the first one. But it actually turned the opposite, and it was a greater success than the first one. So therefore their heads might be spinning in a direction, well, perhaps it could benefit to do a third one as well. But you know, they need to be careful, you know, they need to make it more that like the second one and not repeat the mistakes of the first one, so that, because otherwise it will, if the third one would fail, you know, that would be good for them and so forth. So they need to really think it through, but I definitely believe there's a lot of potential there, and there are a couple of other stories, I mean, they could come up with as well. Because, you know, I don't think anyone could have ever dreamed of how the second one would be. No one could have guessed that they were gonna have flashback scenes to a younger version of Donna. I mean, hell, when I watched the first one, I didn't even know they could make a sequel of it, because, you know, it ties together so nicely in the first one, you know. So, therefore, it's gonna be very difficult. I mean, they could also do it like, you know, soul-searching video, because in the ending of the first one, they had Sophie and Sky. They weren't getting married, they were going out on an adventure, you know, and exploring the world. And, you know, the second one is actually set a couple of years later, so they could have filled that time gap in between that we don't know that much about, and they could have them going around and perhaps going to South America and so forth, and they are discovering some secrets or clues as to that Fernando might be the grandfather that I believe that he actually is. I don't even know if they were to announce it officially, but in my own opinion, he's the grandfather, because that's what I got from watching the second one. But so, these are some of my thoughts and ideas of perhaps what could happen. I'm curious to see what you all believe, so drop a comment down below and let me know. So until next time, I'll see you. Bye.